Catherine, are we ready to begin?
Yes, we can start.
All right, Joe.
Okay. All right, here we go. Good morning. The time is 9 a.m., actually 9:02. I call to order the November 29th, 2023 meeting of the Enforcement Committee of the Contractors State License Board. I'm Jim Ruane, Enforcement Committee Chair. Board member Mary Teichert and Amanda Gallo, and I believe one other person has an approved absence today, and Joel Barton must depart at 9:30. Please note that only board members who are members of the Enforcement Committee may participate in this committee meeting. Other board members who are in attendance may observe but cannot ask questions or participate in the discussion. Committee members, to mitigate any potential bandwidth issues, we ask that you turn off your video camera. When you would like to comment at any time during the meeting, please select the raise your hand icon in the WebEx application. I will call on committee members to speak. When called upon, please unmute yourself, and when finished, return to mute. You will also need to click on the raise your hand icon to lower your hand. Robin, please call roll and confirm we have a quorum.
Joel Barton,
Present.
Rodney Cobos,
Here.
David De La Torre,
Here.
Miguel Galarza,
Here.
Amanda Gallo, excused absence, Susan Granzella,
Here.
Jacob Lopez,
Here.
Steve Pinelli,
Here.
Jim Ruane,
Here.
Mary Teichert, excused absence. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Robin. Please join me at this time in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. CSLB staff participating in today's meeting include Enforcement Chief Steve Grove, Registrar David Fote, Chief Deputy Registrar Michael Jamnetsky, and Executive Office Staff Robin Williams, who will be taking roll. In addition, we are fortunate to have DCA Board Counsel John Kinn with us, should legal questions arise. Before we move to public comment, I want to welcome a special guest, Yvonne Durantes. Yvonne is the Assistant Deputy Director for DCA Board and Bureau Relations and assigned to the CSLB. I want to thank you, Yvonne, for her support and for regularly sharing her outreach and consumer protection ideas with Registrar Fote. Yvonne, would you like to address the committee at this time?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. Hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving, and I just wanted to let you know that I am here as a resource. If there's anything you need, any questions you may have, I am with DCA Board and Bureau Relations. We have a member email, which is called memberrelations@dca.ca.gov. And I am happy to assist with anything from logistical questions to training questions, compliance, your term, reappointments, you name it. Anything that I can be of assistance with, I am happy to help with. So I will be here for today's meeting as well as for the board meeting in December. And if you have any questions, either now or then, happy to address the board or the public as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Yvonne, for joining us. Any questions for Yvonne at this time? Good. I think we're good. Item B, public comment for items not on the agenda and future agenda item request. Next is agenda item B, our public comment section. This item is provided for public comment pertaining to items not on this agenda. To allow this committee enough time to conduct its full schedule of business, I will be limiting public comment to 3 minutes apiece. Please note that state law prohibits committee members from discussing any matter brought up during public comment. We also are not allowed to act on any item not on this agenda. If you want the committee to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you can ask us to consider placing that issue on the agenda of a future meeting. If you have an application, complaint, or disciplinary charges pending before the board, we ask that you not discuss the details of your case or pending complaint. Committee members are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not part of the administrative record in the case. If your comments are related to a specific agenda item, you can make your comments now, but you may want to wait until that item comes up for discussion. We will ask for public comment before acting on any item. Public Affairs Chief Catherine White is our host and moderator today. She will be assisting us by monitoring public comment. Members of the public, when you would like to comment on any item during the meeting, please select the raise your hand icon in the WebEx application or leave a message and your contact information if applicable with the chat feature. I would like to now ask for comment. Do any committee members have any item they would like to place on a future meeting agenda?
Yeah, this is John Kinn. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Would you do me a favor just to clarify the record and announce which committee members from the current enforcement committee meeting are present so that Robin can recognize a quorum of that committee?
Yes, I'm here. Chair Jim Ruane. Joel Barton is here. I believe Rodney Cobos is here. Miguel Galarza. Amanda Gallo is absent with notice. Jacob Lopez is here and Michael Mark. Did I miss anyone, David?
No, but Michael Mark does have an excused absence.
Okay, so we have myself, Joel Barton, Rodney Cobos, Miguel Galarza, and Jacob Lopez.
This is Susan. I think I am part of the committee.
Okay, I was looking here and I
Nope.
don't see.
Susan, I believe you're public affairs.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's on the
thank
public
you.
affairs. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so John, we do have a quorum of the enforcement committee.
Thank you. And I just wanted to confirm again that folks like board members like Susan Granzella and others that are not part of the enforcement committee are here as observers. And we do have a quorum for the enforcement committee. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Once again, do any committee members have an item they would like to place on a future meeting agenda? Okay. Catherine, are there any members of the public who wish to address the committee or to offer an agenda item for a future meeting?
Seeing none at this time.
Thank you. With that, we'll move right to item C, update regarding hiring a consultant to perform a workload study and update regarding hiring a consultant to research the scope of unlicensed practice and evaluate disaster response resource requirements. We're now moving to agenda item C with updates on the status of two very important research projects enforcement staff are pursuing. The first is the status of the enforcement staff workload study, and the second is the status of hiring a consultant to research the scope of unlicensed practice and evaluate disaster response resource needs. At various times during the past 20 years, the CSLB has undertaken internal office reviews or audits of closed case files at enforcement offices and periodically hired outside consultants to perform enforcement program assessments. In 2006, the following performance goals were developed in accordance with enforcement investigation staff and have been in place ever since. No more than 100 open complaints exceeding 270 days in age, and a weighted closing average goal of 10 completed investigations per month. From 2006 until the COVID pandemic in March 2020, enforcement staff have consistently met or came very close to meeting both of these performance objectives. Unfortunately, the number of aged cases has increased since the COVID pandemic occurred in 2020, hitting an all-time high of 308 in April of 2023. Additionally, the annual consumer satisfaction survey results have dropped, which I will discuss in more detail in agenda item D. Enforcement management is very concerned about these trends and is focused on turning this around. I'm pleased to report that as of November 1st, 2023, aged cases were down to 207. As I'm sure you all recall, COVID stay-at-home orders and related safety protocols changed the way CSLB performed field investigations. Many witness interviews were conducted virtually, and job site visits by CSLB staff were limited. In addition, CSLB has experienced a significant increase in solar complaints that have increased enforcement staff working caseloads. At the March 2023 board meeting, the board approved spending up to $75,000 to hire a consultant to perform an enforcement workload study. On July 24, 2023, CSLB contracted with Cooperative Personnel Services, CPS, to perform a workload study for the amount of $68,587.50 to determine excuse me, if the current special investigator investigation goals remain viable, excuse me, and to determine if enforcement classifications are appropriate for work performed. The specific requirements of the contract include reviewing complaint handling processes at the board's intake mediation centers, and field investigation centers. For background, consumer complaints are initially received at one of two intake mediation centers, where the complaint is opened and a negotiated settlement of licensee complaint is performed. Complaints that are not resolved at the intake mediation center and may include a violation of contractor's license law are referred to one of 9 investigation centers for investigation of possible violation of contractor's license law. Complaints that include allegations of more serious criminal violations are referred to the board's special investigation unit that is comprised of peace officers. CPS is well underway on completing their research, and they have conducted a thorough review of process documentation and complaint investigation data. CPS has conducted more than 50 interviews with enforcement consumer services representatives, special investigators, and supervisors and managers. The purpose of the interviews is to confirm resource needs and identify complaint handling process improvements. The results and recommendations from the study are expected to be delivered to CSLB in January of 2024. In addition to authorizing staff to secure a consultant for the workload study, the board authorized spending up to $75,000 to hire a second consultant to research the scope of unlicensed practice and evaluate disaster response resource requirements. An enforcement division's strategic objective is to research the scope of unlicensed practice, evaluate allocated enforcement resources, and meet with industry stakeholders to review enforcement strategies. The request for a proposal, or RFP, was released to hire a private consultant to, number 1, better assess the scope of unlicensed practice in the construction industry, and number 2, to evaluate disaster response resource requirements. Regarding disaster response, historical data will need to be reviewed because declared disasters vary year to year. For background, since the winter storms at the end of 2022 through present day, 47 CSLB staff have served at 22 state local assistance centers and federally coordinated disaster response centers, or DRCs. The RFP cutoff date to receive proposals was Tuesday, November 28, 2023. Unfortunately, there were no bidders. Staff have communicated to consultants who advise conducting a study of this complexity will cost far more than $75,000. Staff are recommending, the committee recommend to the full board, raising the not to exceed cap from $75,000 to $200,000. Staff recommendation to enforcement committee is the following motion: increase the amount of funds approved for hiring a consultant to research the scope of unlicensed practice and resource needs to respond to declared disasters from $75,000 to $200,000. Now I'll ask for comment. Committee members, do you have any comments or suggestions? Right. Seeing none, Robert, any public comment?
I am not seeing any public comment, and one thing I wanted to note for the committee members is to have your cameras on. We don't have the bandwidth issues that we had previously.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion. Do I have a motion to approve the proposed recommendation?
So moved. This is Cobos.
Rodney
Jacob
Cobos
Lopez.
moved.
Jacob Lopez second.
Jacob Lopez second. Robin, please call a roll.
James Ruane,
Aye.
Joel Barton,
Aye.
Rodney Cobos,
Aye.
Miguel Galarza,
Aye.
Amanda Gallo, excused absence, Jacob Lopez,
Aye.
Michael Mark,
Michael has an excused absence.
excused absence, sorry. Motion passed.
All right, thank you. Our
I
next
want to note
item
that
is,
we do actually have a public comment that came in as the motion was underway.
all right.
Ali Altala, I am going to send you a request to unmute.
Morning, everyone. My name is Ali Altaha. I'm a licensed general contractor in the state of California for over 20 years. One of my primary functions is construction management services, which is governed by the CSLB. I would like to bring up to your attention the following two major items that I think it has been ignored for several years by now. As you know, back in 2015, there was a court ruling regarding a swimming pool contractor. And as a result of that, the state of California and CSLB determined that construction management is covered by the CSLB. And I am referring to Government Code 4525 and also SB, I think it's 605, that took effect in January 1st, 2019, which emphasized Government Code 4525. For some of you who might not be familiar with 4525, it basically stipulates the following. To do construction management in the state of California, you have to be either licensed civil engineer, licensed architect, or licensed contractor. The entire legal aspect of it have been shifted to the CSLB since 2015 as a result of the swimming pool contract lawsuit. What I would like to bring up to your attention is the following. For years and years, myself and many other licensed contractors who are engaged in pure construction management services for state and federally funded contracts in the state of California have been ignored and have been replaced literally by people waking up in the morning saying, I'm a construction manager. I want you to look at every public agency in the state of California, including Caltrans, including DGS, including all the major transportation agencies, counties, cities. All of them are still hiring construction management firms where the owner is not even
You have
licensed.
a minute remaining.
Thank you. I have communicated this with the CSLB several times, and absolutely no answer. And the second comment real quick, and thank you for your time again, is that $50,000, $200,000, this is peanuts. If you really want to enforce the rules and regulations that most of us are following, you need to go after the bad actors. I would love to see a response from CSLB to my numerous communications over the years. Some of them were stonewalled straight up. I would love to, again, finally, I would love to hear an answer back from CSLB, whether it's the board members or the president of the organization. And
All right, thank you. Thank you for your comments. If you could put your contact information in the chat box, we'll get back to you.
I will. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you. Anything else, Catherine, from the public?
Seeing none.
Nothing else? Okay, great. We'll go to item D, review, discussion, and possible action on strategies to improve consumer complaint satisfaction. Now on to item D, which is review, discussion, and possible action on strategies to improve consumer complaint satisfaction. The Consumer Complaint Satisfaction Report is based on surveys of individuals who have filed complaints with the Contractor State License Board, CSLB, Enforcement Division against licensed or unlicensed contractors. These surveys assess the public satisfaction with CSLB's handling of their complaints. The original benchmark survey began with complaints that were closed in 1993. An assessment of consumer satisfaction has continued since that time. In fiscal year 22-23, the survey was emailed to 10,104 valid email addresses with closed cases and 1,320 complainants, 13% responded. All satisfaction measures showed a steady decrease from the previous 5 years. For example, comparing 2018 to 22-23, satisfaction with the clarity of explanation of complaint procedures decreased from 76% to 63%. Satisfaction with information regarding case progress decreased from 68% to 54%. Satisfaction with timeliness of case processing decreased from 66% to 51%. And satisfaction with CSLB services decreased from 61% to 50%. As the current Enforcement Committee Chair, I'm aware of these challenges faced by enforcement staff in adjusting to budget restrictions, the COVID-19 health pandemic stay-at-home orders, and the significant increase in solar complaints. Budget challenges that restricted use of the CSLB Industry Expert and Arbitration Program have now been resolved. Enforcement special investigators are again performing field visits, inspections, and I am confident strategies developed to address solar contractors receiving multiple complaints will be successful. More on this will be discussed by Chief Grove next in Agenda Item E. complaint handling cycle time reduction. Enforcement management is working closely with the special investigators to ensure that complaints are investigated as soon as possible after assignment. The delay due to heavy caseloads has significantly impacted the complainant satisfaction survey. The implementation of the new multiple offender unit, which Chief Grove will discuss next in agenda item E, will also play a significant role in reducing staff caseloads and related complaint handling cycle times. Training curriculum. In addition to the review of complaint handling processes, the Enforcement Division is excited to report 2024 staff training initiatives that include biannual enforcement academies, career development, customer service, and staff development training opportunities available upon request. I'm optimistic that these complaint handling changes will significantly improve complaint satisfaction. Committee members, do you have any comments or suggestions? Right. Robin, any public comment? Catherine?
Seeing none.
All right. I will now turn it over to Chief Grove for final agenda item E. Steve?
Thank you, Chair Ruane, and good morning, board members and attendees. Agenda item E is the review, discussion, and possible action on development of a multiple offender unit. I'd like to start by acknowledging that most solar contractors conduct their business in a professional and legal manner, providing excellent construction services to California consumers. Unfortunately, some solar contractors do not respond timely to their customer concerns. They look to CSLB for their quality control and engage in egregious acts causing significant consumer financial harm. There's been a troubling increase in consumer filed solar complaints. Comparing fiscal year 2018/2019 to fiscal year 22-23, we've seen a 176% increase in solar complaints. During the same period, the number of non-solar complaints has remained steady, even showing a slight decline. CSLB has more than 900 open solar complaints currently, more than 20% of all CSLB open complaints. This excessive number of solar complaints has created high caseloads for enforcement staff. The number and egregiousness of solar complaints further contributes to a workload issue. These cases often include elder abuse, fraud, and other high priority complaint types that require these cases to be prioritized over other complaints. These additional elements also make investigating these complaints more complex and time consuming. To provide effective consumer protection and address this unsustainable increase in consumer filed solar complaints, a multiple offender unit was established last month. This unit is comprised of a supervisor, CSLB executive staff, and 3 volunteer special investigators. The goal of this new unit is to focus on the solar contractors with the most complaints, assign all of the complaints against a contractor to a single investigator, and take swift, aggressive action to persuade the contractors to resolve pending complaints and implement business practices that address their customer complaints before their customer finds need to file a CSLB complaint. Contractors will be the subject to legal action if they do not resolve their complaints timely, and a violation of contractor's license law is supported. We've already met with the Office of the Attorney General and developed a streamlined legal action process for these cases. Solar contractors need to be aware that consumer protection statutes will be strictly enforced. It's anticipated that this new aggressive approach will send a message to solar contractors receiving multiple complaints, and they will take necessary steps to prevent their construction projects from resulting in a complaint to the CSLB. In summary, solar contractors receiving multiple complaints should assume they will be subject to a legal action, likely an accusation, if they fail to respond to requests for correction completion work timely, and CSLB incurs the expense of sending out an industry expert to determine the contracted work was not completed and/or performed to industry standards. Again, CSLB will no longer send out IEs for the purpose of assisting a solar contractor with multiple complaints to settle their disputes with their customers. CSLB has identified a solar industry expert who has agreed to provide remote guidance to consumers on correcting and completing their solar project if their complaint is not needed to support our legal action. Additionally, our Special Investigations Unit will be working with local prosecutors and the Attorney General's office on pursuing charges of unfair business practice, BMP 17200, against some of these solar contractors. This approach will be effective in substantially reducing future solar complaints. However, further outreach to contractors and consumer support is needed for consumers with incomplete or defective solar installations. It is for this reason we are looking for assistance from the California Solar and Storage Association, CALSA, on this important issue. We had a very productive meeting just yesterday with Josh Buswell-Charkal from CALSA, who is online with us this morning. I will now turn it back over to you, Chair Ruane. You may want to invite Josh to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Steve. Josh, you're with us. Would you like to say a few words?
I have just sent Josh a request to unmute.
Okay.
Hello?
Good, Josh, you're on.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I apologize. I'm going to have to leave shortly, but I appreciate the CSLB notifying us about this problem. You know, we've had multiple meetings over the years with staff from the CSLB, and you know, have an open door policy, and you know, are happy to help however we can to reach out to contractors who are being unresponsive to their customers or are being unresponsive to the CSLB. And so you know, we're absolutely supportive of the CSLB doing what's necessary to make sure that customers ultimately are taken care of. You know, as a solar trade association, you know, we want to make sure that every solar customer is satisfied with their purchase. So I'm happy to continue to assist the CSLB in all the efforts going forward.
All right, thank you, Josh. Yeah, I think it's important working very closely with CSLB going forward, you know, with your trade organization. I mean, you're the guys that are representing the solar industry. We didn't have to worry about this stuff years ago because there was very little or no solar, and now it's a whole different thing. And not just the solar, you know, contractors, but the people that are making these panels and selling these panels to people that maybe are unscrupulous. So those are things I hope we can work together very closely with you in the future. Thank you. All right. Any committee members have any comments or suggestions on this item? Anything from Catherine? Anything from the public?
Yes, we have a Ben Earth. I'm going to be sending him a request to unmute.
Thank you.
Sending the request to unmute, but then as soon it's been turned off. Let me try again. Ben,
Hi,
are
can
you?
you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, my name is Ben Arith. I am the policy director at Freedom Forever, and I want to kind of really echo Josh's comments. I think it's important that CALSA, as well as members, take consumer protection, extremely important to deal with the high volume of complaints. Jim, as you mentioned, solar has, compared to 10, 15 years ago, has really taken off. And so with the number of solar installations, unfortunately, it come with the number of complaints. But I just want to, reinforce that Freedom Forever has taken, consumer protection very seriously. We actually extremely appreciate our relationship with the CSLB and working with them to resolve those complaints that have come, from our installations. But we are committed to ensuring, that we are taking care of customers and that we're making the best experience with them. And yeah, so I just want to say that, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ben. Catherine, any other members of the public?
Seeing none at this time.
All right, thank you. This actually concludes the Enforcement Committee meeting. I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion, Jacob Lopez.
Thanksgiving, and I think,
Second, Rodney,
little
Cobos.
2 foot
That was Jacob Lopez and Joel Barton. Is that correct?
I think Rodney seconded.
Rodney. Okay, Rodney Cobos. We don't need a roll call. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
And we'll be taking a brief break as we transition into the Public Affairs Committee meeting. Hi, Alan, we're in a practice session. If you could please turn on your camera and your microphone. See, there's Steve Pinelli.
Hello.
Let's see. See there, Miguel. Gonna send you a request to unmute Alan. Let's see. Just waiting to do the mic check, and then we can transition into the next meeting. Alan, are you there? Microphone and camera check, please.
All right, I'm there. Sorry, I didn't know.
Oh, it's okay. Just wanted to make sure before we went back into the meeting. So yeah, see you there and I hear you there. Thank you. Okay. And with that, I'm going to go out of the practice session. So in about 30 seconds or so, feel free to start the meeting, Miguel.
Fair enough.
You're ready to begin, Miguel.
Very good. Thank you so much, Catherine. Good morning, everyone. The time is now 9:36, and I call to order the November 29th of 2023 meeting of the Public Affairs Committee. Miguel Galarza, and I'm the committee chair. Please note the committee member, Mary Tigert, has an excused absence. Also note that only board members who are members of the Public Affairs Committee may participate in this committee meeting. Other board members who are in attendance may observe but cannot ask questions or participate in discussion. Committee members, please leave your cameras on during the meeting. When you would like to comment during the meeting, please select the raise hand button icon on the WebEx application. I will call on the committee member to speak. When called upon, please unmute yourself and when finished, return to mute. Chief of Public Affairs, Kathleen White, is our host and moderator today. Robin, would you be so kind as to call roll call and establish a quorum for us?
Miguel Galarza.
Present.
David De La Torre.
Here.
Susan Granzella.
Here.
Alan Guy.
Here.
Jacob Lopez.
Here.
Steve Pinelli.
Here.
And Mary Tigert, excused absence. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Robin. Well, the first action item we have is item B, which is public comment for this section. This item is provided for comments pertaining to items that are not on the agenda. To allow this committee enough time to conduct its full schedule of business, I will limit public comment to 3 minutes each. Please note that state law prohibits committee members from discussing any matter brought during public comment. We're not allowed to act on any items not on the agenda. If you want the committee to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you can ask to have it considered to be placed as an issue as an agenda for a future meeting. If you have an application, complaint, or disciplinary charge pending before the board, we ask that you do not discuss the details of the case or pending complaint. Committee members are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not part of the administrative record in this case. If your comments are related to specific agenda items, you may make your comments now, but you may want to wait until that specific item comes up for discussion. We will ask for public comment before acting on any item. Catherine, could you see if there's any comments from the board or any comments from the public?
We do have one public comment from Rich Knudsen. I'll be sending you a request to unmute. Rich, are you there? Sending a request to unmute again. Rich, you should be unmuted now.
Yes, I think I'm good. Thank you much. First of all, I want to appreciate your time. And I must apologize that I don't have the agenda in front of me besides what's something agenda item B. My question is specifically around process because there's a group of us that are having challenges with the complaint process because we don't truly understand the nature of the time frame that is involved when doing the complaints. We have a contractor that basically walked from the job on several jobs and took all of our money on top of that. And I won't go into the detail because it's all been published or processed, but we've been waiting for 6-8 weeks and we're not sure if that's normal or, we don't want to risk losing the bond at one point too. We just want to make sure that we have, we have a clear understanding before we start pressing on the, our case manager to, are we going to take action? Because we did find out this contractor is actually getting more clients and then he's defrauding them as well. He's a licensed contractor. So, but I guess it's more just about process and timing of the process when it comes to the complaint process. And that's all I really had to cover. So thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Would it be appropriate for him to leave his point of contact for registered folks to reach out to him?
Yeah, this is Dave Fote. If he put his contact information in the chat room, he'll be contacted no later than close of business tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay. I'll go ahead and put my phone number and my email address.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much for hearing me.
With that, are there any other public comments, Captain?
Seeing none at this time.
Thank you so much. Do any committee members have any items they would like to place on future meeting agendas? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move to our next agenda item. Item C, which is to review, discuss, and possible action items on website consumer information improvements. The public affairs staff is working on improvements to the website to better serve consumers, including updating the alert boxes on the CSLB homepage. The alert boxes emphasizes the home improvement contract law about down payments, including for solar. The screenshot is a screen showing the language which reads as follows. Contractor, including solar contractors, performing home improvements work or work in declared disaster areas may not accept more than 10% of the contract price or $1,000, whichever is less, as a down payment on home improvement contracts, including for a solar energy system. Exception for this limited down payment. It is against the law for a home improvement contractor to collect payment for work not yet completed or for materials not yet delivered. The Public Affairs is also drafting a letter that will send to solar contractors with a significant number of complaints and noting that CSLB is not tasked with serving as a quality control for contractors, but rather investigating complaints for violations of California state license law. A screenshot of the latest draft is on the screen. As part of the Public Affairs efforts to better inform consumers about solar, the Solar Smart page is also being updated to streamline the key detail customers should know before considering solar. The Solar Smart page is on the screen. Public Affairs is also working to reorganize the page so that the pertinent information is up on the top of the page and more accessible to consumers. This includes the other things to remember portion about checking the license first, shopping and comparing, doing the math, getting the contracts in writing, reviewing the contract, asking questions, and not rushing into a contract. These important tips have also been promoted as a regular series on the CSLB social media channel. In addition to the website improvements, Public Affairs is working on ensuring all its publications are current and updated for both the website and print. This includes translating in publications into Spanish and other high-demand languages. The Getting Licensed to Build publication was recently updated, which corresponds with the monthly licensing workshop for potential applicants. This workshop is held in both English and Spanish. That concludes this agenda item. Do any committee members have any questions or comments on this item? Could you check for me, Kathleen?
Actually, this is Susan. May I ask a question?
Absolutely, Susan.
Okay. So the alert that came up with the red line, and that was an alert, which is, I think, very important for the consumers to see. But at what prompts the alert? Is that logging into CSLB? I think I missed that part. Or is it when they search for solar or whatever? I was just wondering what prompts the alert for the consumer.
Yes, I'll comment on that. So the home improvement payment reminder information is actually on the CSLB main homepage. So if you scroll down past the search bar, past the main items that are there, you'll see that near the bottom of the page. And so it's on the homepage for whenever anyone goes on the page, it will be there. Does that help?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, does that help? Is there, do you need any additional clarification?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Ms. Granzella. Any other committee members would like to speak? Hearing none. Does the public have any comments on this item?
Seeing none at this time.
Thank you so much. We will move on to our next agenda item. Item D, which is to review, discuss, and possible action items on videos outlines to assist consumers and licensees. The Public Affairs in regularly creating new videos to better assist consumers and licensees, which include translating videos in Spanish. Please see the slide to see the proposed videos in 2024. Television specialist Amy Lawrence will briefly discuss and describe some of the proposed videos. Amy?
Hi, everyone. My name's Amy, and I'm the television specialist here at CSLB, and happy to share with you some of the great videos we have in store for 2024. Some of the factors we look at when coming up with concepts for future videos are what construction topics are trending, what topics haven't we already covered, and what are some of our most watched videos so we can translate those to Spanish and reach a wider audience. And as always, we want to make sure we're meeting our strategic objectives and reaching each of our audience groups. So applicants, consumers, licensees, and CSLB staff and board members. So for 2024, here are some of the videos you can expect from us. First, we have tips for hiring a solar contractor. This will be a 3 to 5 minute video for consumers, similar to our 10 tips for hiring a contractor video, but geared specifically to, toward hiring a solar contractor. So it'll cover tips on how to make sure the project runs smoothly and efficiently and how to avoid being scammed. Also coming up, we have a video to promote Women in Construction Month. And we have a couple of Spanish videos related to contracting in disaster areas. One of them is targeted at consumers and how they can protect themselves from unlicensed contracting. And the other video is a warning to contractors about unlicensed contracting in disaster areas, some of the penalties for doing so. So we'll also be working on an updated studio version of our Spanish Get Licensed to Build workshop. As you may already know, the English and Spanish versions of the workshop are live streamed monthly by public affairs and licensing staff. There are often updates to the content based on program changes. And so we'll work on getting those changes translated and incorporated into the workshop for the coming year. And some other topics we'll be covering are navigating CSLB online forms, Construction Safety Month, Construction Inclusion Week, and also a short social media series specific to summer construction projects. So things like landscaping, tree trimming, and swimming pool construction. And then lastly, we'll be working on a 10 tips short video series for social media. So it's going to be a busy year, but we've had a lot of growth on our YouTube channel in the past 4 years. So we definitely want to keep that momentum going and keep increasing our audience size. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Amy, for the excellent presentation. It's really appreciated. Do any committee members have any questions for Amy or comments on this item?
So this is Susan again. I do have a question. What is the feasibility? What's the likelihood that these will be completed by the end of the year? Because it's really, I think, a fascinating range of topics and much needed. But will you be able to get to all of these this year, do you think?
I am very confident we'll be able to get through all of them this year or this coming year.
Great. It's a great list. Thank you. And looking forward to watching.
Excellent. Are there any public comments on this item? Definitely.
None at this time.
Thank you so much. We will now move on to our next agenda item, which is item E, which is to review, discuss, and possible action items on CSLB-specific new board membership orientation video. The Public Affairs Strategic Plan, items 4.2 states as follows. Establish a CSLB-specific new board member orientation to educate new board members about legislative processes, licensing, testing functions, and enforcement procedures. Public Affairs created both a PDF document and video as components of this board member orientation. We will show a portion of the video today and will be providing the video and the PDF to board members. Natalie, would you please play the video?
Welcome to the Contractors State License Board, or CSLB, and thank you for joining our board, where you'll play a vital role in fulfilling our consumer protection mission. CSLB is part of the Department of Consumer Affairs and is responsible for licensing contractors in California and enforcing contractors' state license law. This video will give you an overview of CSLB's licensing, testing, enforcement, and legislative divisions and the important work we do to regulate the construction industry and protect consumers. As a new board member, you'll make important decisions about CSLB's administrative policy and help manage our $80 million annual budget. Unlike many state departments, CSLB does not receive general state fund allocation and relies mainly on fees from new contractor license applications, license renewals, license modifications, and to a lesser extent, enforcement cost recovery and civil penalties for its funding. CSLB has over 400 employees who work at its Sacramento headquarters and field offices throughout California. Individuals who contract for construction work that costs $500 or more in labor and/or materials must have a state-issued contractor's license. People who want a contractor's license must first submit an original application for licensure. Once it is determined the application is complete and meets qualification requirements, the license qualifier must pass a law and business exam, as well as a specific trade exam, unless they qualify for an exam waiver. Licensing staff process all license applications. Part of the application process involves a criminal background check, verification of the required work experience, and complying with bond and insurance requirements. Licensing staff also process applications for those registering as home improvement salespersons. A home improvement salesperson, or HIS, is employed by a licensed contractor to negotiate, sell, or execute home improvement contracts or new home construction in declared disaster areas. Licensing staff also handle requests to change something on a license, such as officer changes, updating the business address, or adding license classifications. In addition, they process all license renewals. CSLB's testing division is also part of licensing and develops and manages all CSLB law and business and trade exams, which are administered by PSI Exams, a vendor with test sites throughout California. Testing staff collaborate with subject matter experts in each classification to develop and update trade exam questions, oversee candidate eligibility, and review requests for special accommodations or translation services. Fortunately, most of California's licensed contractors comply with the state's licensing requirements and regulations. However, when CSLB does receive a complaint about either a licensed or unlicensed contractor, it's handled by the Enforcement Division. The division conducts approximately 20,000 investigations annually, with 16,000 of the investigations originating from a consumer-filed complaint. 25% of the consumer-filed complaints are for unlicensed contractors, while the remaining 75% are filed against licensed contractors. CSLB has complaint resolution tools for the licensee complaints that include an industry expert program to evaluate workmanship complaint items, telephone negotiation performed at one of 2 mediation centers, and 9 investigative centers that are empowered to settle the less egregious complaints, often with assistance from an industry expert. CSLB also offers binding arbitration for financial injuries not exceeding $50,000. CSLB's administrative disciplinary tools include letters of admonishment that are disclosed on a license for up to 2 years, administrative citations that include civil penalties and may include an order of correction. Citations are disclosed for 5 years, or an accusation may be filed to revoke the contractor's license. In addition, CSLB has authority to refer a licensee investigation for criminal prosecutions if the evidence supports criminal acts. CSLB peace officers or special investigators will perform administrative fines or criminal referrals if an unlicensed person acted in the capacity of a contractor for a work of improvement exceeding $500 in value. Proactively addressing those who contract without a license is a top priority for CSLB's Enforcement Division. The statewide investigative fraud team, more commonly referred to as SWIFT, leads the board's efforts in this area and conducts undercover stings to help reduce illegal contracting. SWIFT also works with other state agencies to conduct compliance sweeps of active construction sites. In addition to its staff at CSLB headquarters, SWIFT has field offices throughout the state. SWIFT performs more than 3,000 proactive investigations annually. The Enforcement Division also plays a key role in educating consumers and enforcing contractor license law in disaster areas. CSLB's Legislative Division researches and develops legislative bill proposals that include securing a legislative author, providing bill justification, testifying in legislative hearings, and lobbying on CSLB's behalf for a bill's passage. The Legislative Division also screens bills introduced to the legislature to determine if they affect the board, consumer protection, or the construction industry. Any legislation that does affect the board is studied closely by budget office staff to determine if it will also impact CSLB financially. If a bill requires additional workload, CSLB may need a spending authority budget adjustment and permission to hire additional staff. Additional enforcement authority in declared disaster areas and responsibility to enforce electrician certification are examples of when CSLB may need additional spending authority and personnel. Together, CSLB staff and board members play an important role in helping the board meet its consumer protection mission. Thank you again for joining the CSLB board. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Natalie. This concludes this agenda item. Do any committee members have any questions or comments on this fantastic video?
Well, if no one else is speaking, I do have a question. First of all, I want to say congratulations. I think that's a huge step. Back when I joined in the Stone Age, we sort of picked up the information as we went, and there was less formal training. So that's wonderful. Will you, in this video, include what is expected of board members and sort of the structure of how board members interact, what's expected of them, and what their participation may be for the following, 4 years? Will you include a section on that?
In this video specifically, it was going to be about legislative licensing, testing, and enforcement processes, which is why we focused on it in this video. One, we also, like I said, we also have a corresponding PDF, and that's information we might be able to include in there. And then there's also the board member administrative procedure manual, which goes into a lot of those details as well. So it's possible we might be able to include like a page overview, maybe in the PDF version, essentially saying, here is essentially what's expected of you.
Right.
That could be a possibility as well there.
Okay, good. I'd be happy to help out on that. But I think it's important because when you join, often that information, is not conveyed. So I think that's important, and it would be interesting to touch upon that. So thank you. I think the video is wonderful.
Thank you, Susan.
I would agree. I think the video is great. It certainly helps. I know it's a lot of effort for Dave and his team to onboard a new board member, and they did a great job with myself. But this will certainly help get people up to speed and hopefully save the rest of people some time. So great job.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan and Susan. Does the public have any comments on this item?
Seeing none at this time.
Thank you so much. In that event, I will move on to item F, which is adjournment. This completes the committee's business for today, and I have a motion, please, to conclude and adjourn the Public Affairs Committee meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Alan, making the motion?
It was David.
David, is that a second for David?
Steve Pinelli, second.
Steve, okay, so David made the motion and Steve Pinelli made the second. Thank you so much. Since roll call is not needed, thank you everyone for this meeting, and this meeting is currently adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Be well.
Thank you.